Hello and welcome to a vlog I'm calling How Not to Write a Novel. And it's also a few tips on how not to act as an author. I'll kind of put them into the same vlog, but these are important points anyway. So first off, don't do this for vanity. I've been at two places where self-published authors, and I have got nothing against self-published authors because some of them really understand the publishing industry and put out really good work, well edited, good covers, lots of drafts before they put their work out there. They really finesse their novel. But I've had two self-published authors complain to me about why aren't they published by one of the major publishers. And one of them even came to me and sort of said, well, I've done all the work, I've drawn all the pictures, done all the illustrations, all the publisher has to do is publish it. I've done all the work. This shows no understanding of the publishing industry. They don't know that a publisher or an agent has to see whether what they've done is marketable, whether it suits an audience that they are working for. This is not the way you act. But once upon a time, a long time ago, in another life, I used to do acting lessons. And one of our lecturers always said, you are there for the audience isn't there for you. Same with being a novelist. You are there for the reader is not there for you to make your ego become bigger. Second point, self-publishing is not your only option. So research smaller publishers. Do their books sell well? And so check out their Amazon rankings. Also check out the number of reviews that are on Goodreads and Amazon. If there's a lot of reviews, if they are up in scale in the Amazon rankings, that means the publisher does good marketing and or also has good distribution. The other thing, look at their covers. Are they memorable? Do they look like what's in vogue at the moment? Or are they just plain crap? Sometimes there's some publishers I've seen that even do what's in vogue at the moment, plus they do better. Their artwork is much better. So keep these things in mind when you're researching publishers. Now, the school bell you hear there, I'm in Sydney, we're opposite the school, you'll hear planes going overhead, it's summer, you'll hear crickets, cicadas from time to time, just warning you. Okay, point 3, don't pause the plot. Every scene must advance the plot or tell you something the reader must know. So when you're outlining, think in terms of your inciting action, which is what pretty much triggers the whole story. And then think in terms of this happened, so therefore this happened. Therefore this happened. But this happened. Maybe it's an interesting plot twist, but don't make it too out there that it's non-believable. And therefore this happened. But this happened. Never go, and then this happened. Because if it's not to do with the story, it doesn't matter. Point 4, titles. Make them stand out. Now, I mentioned my assessor for my first novel. At that time, that first novel I called Staging Life. She was like, what is with this title? It's a forgettable title. That book finally became known as Drama Queens with Love Scenes, a much more catchy, memorable title. Another time, I was pitching a dystopian tale named Taylor, I think to HarperCollins. They had a pitch day, or it was some festival I was part of where you could pitch to HarperCollins. Although they weren't interested in the book, they said, but the book is a dystopian take on where social media will take us, and social media is a hot topic right now. Because at the time it was around the rise of influencers, so social media was opening a few eyes. So they said, why doesn't the title include social media? So the dystopian novel is now known as Social Media Central. Another title, now sometimes when I get stuck on titles, I go on social media and ask for help. I explain the plot and I get people suggesting titles. A novel of mine focuses on a middle-aged man who's unhappy with his life, and in his dreams he meets a younger man. And with each dream he has, he's also younger himself, an extra 5 years. So he gets to review his own life, but also review his own life through the eyes of someone younger. A lot of people, when I asked, just said, my dream lover. And I just thought, well, that's not a very inspired title. But one person told me about a lover they had who could only come at midnight. So he'd wake this person up, they'd make love, and then they'd leave. And then this person would be very tired at work the next day. But he referred to this lover as the Midnight Man. Such a cool name for a book. Next, don't write a boring first chapter, because first chapters can be read on any online bookstore, and if it hasn't captivated a reader, then they're not going to hit that add to cart button. They're just not going to do it. And I've ditched first chapters. In fact, The Midnight Man had a whole first chapter that took place in a nightclub and where you met 4 of the major characters. No matter how many times I rewrote that, it just gave nothing to the overall novel. So it was ditched, and elements of that were weaved into the first chapter as it is now in the final product. Another one is, don't give your characters similar names. I've read a book that had 2 toxic male characters who I mistook as the same person because they had very everyday boys' names until they both appeared in the same scene. And I had to go back a few chapters and work out, oh, hold on, this character did this. No, that's the other character. That character did that, blah, blah, blah. And I had to just go back through the last few chapters. So make sure every character has a very distinct, different name. Don't write your blurb at the last minute. So it's important to start finessing your blurb, because it's just as important as your first page on an online book site for people to be captivated. Now, this is one of my favourite blurbs from this current novel. Just listen how this puts the reader in place, because it doesn't mention any character names, right? It all begins on a flight from Hobart to Sydney. The flight will be smooth. It will land safely. Everyone who gets on the plane will get off the plane. But almost all of them will be changed forever. Because on this ordinary flight, something extraordinary happens. A lady, unremarkable until she isn't, predicts how and when many of the passengers are going to die. For some, death is far in the future. For others, it is very close. Now, anyone who reads that can put themselves in that picture, because it doesn't mention the characters, it doesn't mention anything more than a simple premise. It's basically just a simple pitch. But boy, it works. I'm intrigued. Which brings me to something my first editor really hammered into me. Show, don't tell. I have my own way of explaining show, don't tell. The pattern on her dress reminded me of my grandmother's curtains. Now, everyone watching this will have a completely different idea of what the pattern on that dress is, and that's exactly what I want you to do. Because when I write in a way where I want the reader to reimagine my story for themselves, reimagine the characters, reimagine how they look, reimagine what maybe they're wearing. different from the way that's in my head. Because once I can make the reader make the story their own, then they're more invested than if I give you a paragraph explaining the pattern on that woman's dress that reminds me of my grandmother's curtains. Readers will tend to glaze over too much information. So the last thing I'll say, just to cap all of this, remember that you're on a writer's journey. We're all learning all the time, even me. I've been traditionally published for probably about 12 years now, but I'm still learning new stuff. I'm still doing new courses on things, learning things from my writers group, relearning stuff I've forgotten. It's all important. So please don't act as if you know it all. Now, so please share your thoughts and tips in the comments. I'd like to hear what your experiences have been. And also, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.